Welcome to the Whiskey Couch. My name is Gustav Miller, and today I have a few thoughts on whiskey and food pairing. Whiskey and food pairing is actually not that difficult, and you can have lots of fun with it. It's gaining popularity like you cannot believe all over the world, and it's an exciting way to entertain friends. You can invite a few friends over, get a few whiskeys and a few pairing nibbles and do some experimentation, and in no time you'll have lots and lots of fun. In terms of the basics, I would say that the very first thing that you should keep in mind is that in your whiskey and in your food pairing, you need to find a flavor element that connects with each other. And secondly, you can follow one of two approaches. You can either go for the complementing approach, where your flavor element in the whiskey and your flavor element in your food pairing complements each other, and that is how they connect. Or you can go for the contrast pairing option. In that case, you will go for flavor elements that contrast with each other, like for instance, a salty element in the whiskey and a caramel element in your food pairing. Contradictory and contradicting, but they connect in terms of salted caramel. They connect in a way that just makes sense. So you can follow either of those two approaches. I'm going to go through a few examples just to give you some ideas. If you look at a fruity single malt whiskey like the Glenmorangie Original, in this whiskey you have lots of citrus notes in the flavor profile. So for this whiskey I will use something like a orange meringue. I found these orange flavored meringues at the shop near us, and this will be a wonderful flavor companion, a wonderful pairing for a whiskey like this particular one. So in other words, the citrus notes in the whiskey will connect with the orange juice notes in this meringue, and the meringue is also quite delicate and soft. It'll just melt in your mouth, and over here you're also looking at quite a delicate whiskey. Now the way that you do it, you will take a sip, just checking the aromas, checking what aromas you're getting, then take a sip. Let it just coat your mouth, just enjoy the whiskey. Small little sip, and then what you do is you take the pairing, you chew it, and let it just coat your mouth. Maybe you want to swallow a bit, but leave a bit behind, and then you add a tiny sip of whiskey into that pairing and let it just mingle, and then you enjoy what happens in your mouth. For this whiskey you can also use something like Orange Intense Lindt chocolate or creme brulee. In the creme brulee case, the vanilla and the pairing and the vanilla and the whiskey will connect with each other. You can also use something like a tomato, avocado and feta cheese salad, but with a lemon dressing. So the citrusy lemon dressing will connect with the citrus in the whiskey. Let's take a second example. Smokehead Peated whiskey from Islay. In this whiskey you have salty and smoky notes, but it's also quite creamy. So I will go for the contrast option. I found these vanilla flavored fudge squares at the shop nearby, and I will use that as a pairing for that whiskey. So you will have the salted caramel vanilla, salted vanilla effect at the end of the day. Wonderful connection. In that whiskey's case, you can also use something like a smoked cheese or a blue cheese. Will also work very well with that whiskey. Sherry cask matured whiskey like Glendronach 12. One of the flavor elements in this whiskey's flavor profile is fruitcake. So for that whiskey, I will use something like a chocolate covered raisin. Chocolate covered raisins, widely available. So the chocolate and the raisin will connect with the fruitcake flavors in the whiskey. If you cannot find these, you can also use fruitcake itself. Or you can use something interesting like a carrot salad with raisins and an orange juice dressing. So the raisins and the whole salad mixture will connect very well with this kind of whiskey. If you talk about a smooth single grain whiskey like the Baines Cape Mountain whiskey, in this whiskey you have very prominent vanilla notes in the flavor profile. So I will choose something like a vanilla flavored wafer stick. So the vanilla in both the pairing and the whiskey will connect with each other. But you can also use something like a creamy cheddar or a creamy Gouda cheese on a wafer or a biscuit or a cracker. That'll also work well. Bourbon. Elijah Craig 12-year-old bourbon. In this whiskey you have very prominent caramel notes in the flavor profile. So I would go for something like caramel flavored popcorn. Caramel flavored popcorn. So the caramel in the popcorn will connect with the caramel in, of course, the bourbon. Otherwise, you can also use something like peanut brittle, which is also caramelly and it's also nutty, and it will connect not only with the caramel but also with the nuttiness of that whiskey. Or caramelized nuts will also work very well. So that was just a few thoughts from my side. Maybe one day we'll talk a bit more about food and whiskey pairing. In the meantime, I just want to say have fun, experiment, and enjoy your journey in terms of whiskey and food pairing. I'll see you again tomorrow. More whiskey tasting, more whiskey reviews, and more whiskey pairing to come. Slàinte.